Welcome back to the next little lecture on under the heading of wealth. We're going to talk about economy. Now, usually when we learn history, it gets a little boring, and it gets boring because we really learn political or economic history, and not everybody's into that, and we really can't connect to that very well, most of us. Economics, what are you talking about? You know, how many of you guys have taken Econ 1? So, I'm going to try and make it a little bit more palatable and able to kind of wrap your brain around this a little bit, all right? As specifically as it pertains to history, all right? So this is not an econ class. Now, but economy does play a role in history. History, remember, is about human beings. It's about us. So what's important to us? Well, how much money we make is very important to us. I mean, that's why you're primarily in college now, right? Because college is a stepping stone to getting a good job so that you can make money and live a lifestyle that you like to live. But in order to live that lifestyle, you have to have money. It's a trade-off. That's what we have to do, right? So that trade-off definitely is part of the story of human beings and part of our story in history. So when we're looking, though, at economy with regards to world civilizations, and even in any kind of history that you're looking at, economy comes in two ways for our purposes, okay? We're going to try and make this easy. Barter economy, where you have goods exchanged for other goods. Goods exchanged for other goods. I think there are swap meets that people have now where you can swap stuff out. When I was a kid, way back in the old days, we used to swap out stuff all the time. I'll give you this if you give me that. And we lived in many ways. We didn't know the name, that it was a barter economy, but we kind of did that. We'd swap stuff out. And I think, I don't know, but before the pandemic and when we would have grab bags for like Christmas parties and stuff, I remember being in one where people were swapping out their grab bag gifts. So we still do that. Swapping is the same thing as bartering for our purposes, okay? We're going to give something up because we're going to get something in return, but it has nothing to do with coin. It is for stuff, goods for goods. Then there is a monetary economy. Monetary economy is more complex of an economy. It is where you take money, like we have dollar bills, but in the ancient world, we're not looking at paper money, but we're looking at coin in exchange for a good. So let's like we do now. If you want to go to the grocery store, what have you got to have? You got to have money. So, hey, there you go. And you're exchanging money for whatever the good is. Now, are you exchanging real coin at today's day and age? No, you're using your debit card or your credit card. But those cards represent money, don't they? So, neener. There you go. All right. So, a monetary economy comes a little bit later in world history. We really see the complexity of a monetary economy when we're looking at Persia and Greece. Let me see if I can get a different color here. Monetary economy, Persia, Greece, and Rome, etc., and so forth. Persia, Greece, and Rome. We see a monetary economy, Egypt, we see a monetary economy develop. Now, a monetary economy is really created probably around, well, certainly maybe about 1000 BCE. You know, I'm doing this off the top of my head at this moment, so don't hold me to that number. But it is important to understand that a complex monetary economy had been going on for really thousands of years, probably, I think. I should be more specific since I'm doing the lecture. I realize that. But I don't have my notes from the office with me that I rely on all the time. Still, the point remains the same and is true to form. Monetary economy is a very complex economy that had been in the ancient world in East Asia and in India and the Middle East and Africa for thousands of years before the Spaniards or the Portuguese go over into India and begin their age of exploration. And it is important to note, just going forward, that those Portuguese and those Spaniards thought they were so technologically advanced that on the very first voyages to India, the Portuguese brought baubles, wampum, with them instead of real coin, because they thought they were all that in a bag of chips, and that the folks in India who they were going to buy the spices from didn't know anything, because they were, one, not Christian, and number two, not European. And so what a rude awakening they received when they learned that they were the newcomers to a monetary economy, and that they were getting a little bit above their raisin when they thought they were better than those they were trading with. And I think that's always a good lesson to know, or to keep in mind. Don't make the assumptions that you know something more than somebody else knows. They may have been experienced far longer than you, and that is a good lesson, not only for us in everyday life, but it's a really good thing to know and acknowledge knowing, recognize when we're looking at history. Because so many times we think we know everything, one tribe, one group, and it turns out that's not the case. So the motivations that we have to act are not so pure. They they fail because they don't understand really the ramifications of what it is they're doing. And that is a very important piece to remember in history. In the dynasties rise and fall on those kinds of concepts. So keep that, please, in mind. So monetary. So one of the ways that we know of Persia, Greece, and Rome certainly is that we have coins. We have those coins. And when you look at those coins, we know when those coins were distributed, when they were made, not because there's a date on them like we have on our coins, but rather that coin was minted or stamped, hand-stamped, in the age of whatever emperor or whatever leader. So that is also important to know. By and large, women in the ancient world were not well received, as most of you will have seen from the first video I recommended you to watch on the ascent of woman. As land ownership became privatized, the patriarchal structure grew, and women went down many rungs on that ladder, that social stratus level. And so when we see a coin with a woman on it, woman's face on it, that's a big deal. That is a really big window into the past. Who were these women? And we see there are two coins that come to mind, one with a poet named Sappho's on it, and she is a picture in your module. She comes from Lesbos in Greece, and then Cleopatra, Queen Cleopatra. And those were very strong women. They were leaders in their community, and their face is imprinted on coin, which tells you without any words, just seeing that picture, speaks volumes about the value people placed on those women. So important thing to remember, coins give us a lot of information about the time in which they are minted, who's the leader, especially, and then that leads us to understanding like how far those, if we find those coins along a 1,600-mile route, obviously there's trading, a large-scale trading in that time period. So there's a lot we can glean from just looking at coins and looking at economy in general. Now, something that's important for us to look at when it comes to economy is how is economy play a role? How does it play a role in world history? And it plays a very big role in that the better the economy, the better the economy, the more stable the kingdom or the empire. When you have an economically stable environment, then you're going to and more people then will become wealthy. Their quality of life will go up, and there will be more. You will have a larger variety of goods and services that are offered in that kingdom or in that empire, and an economy is, and the strength of the economy is one of the largest ways that the Persian Empire was able to be the largest empire in the ancient world, yes, Persian, and why Alexander the Great was so one of his redeeming features of many, many, and why Rome became an empire and lasted so long. The Romans took a lot of their lead off of the Persians, and one of the ways both of them, the Persians and the Romans, really have a lot in common is through the development of roads, number one. But what are roads used for? Roads were used to help transport goods from one part of the empire to the other part of the empire. Now, that is an integral part of the success of both of these empires. Now, their empires were so vast that they encompassed a very large and diverse group of people from all over the Middle East. Rome went all the way up at one point into Great Britain. We see Britannia on television. And one of the things that was very cool in many ways about Rome and Persia is that they did not tend to micromanage. Very, very big deal. They didn't tend to micromanage all the diverse people. So they didn't rule over everybody with the same laws. They said, here's the deal. We're going to come to you. We want to have a relationship with you. Sometimes it was through, we're just going to take you over. Other times, the larger they got, the more ability they had to negotiate relationships between other states and between other principalities. Because what they had to offer was a better economy. So if you became part of the Persian Empire or the Roman Empire, the Persians and or the Romans would build roads. They would create cities. They would expand a person's ability to sell what they're making to a larger group of people. So instead of making baskets and selling them across the creek or across the river to the village across the river, now you can make your baskets and sell them all over the place. that when allows somebody to gain wealth. So it's taken a raw material, making it into usable good that you can sell on a larger scale. It's taking the raw material and also being able to distribute it to a larger population. In both cases, you become wealthy because if you have that resource, you own that resource, you set the price of that resource, and if people buy it, then there you go. You have, if there are roads to transport your goods, and roads, by the way, that are safe. That's a really big part of this. So Persia and Rome, one of the things they did was they would go in and they would say, okay, here's the deal. I'll come in and I'll build you a road and we will put in a garrison of our troops, and what you'll do is give us taxes. So I'm giving you the ability to gain wealth because I'm going to give you an extended, a larger place to sell your wares through our empire. Now you've joined the Roman Costco warehouse, and so now you have people who you have access to something other people don't have, and you have a better opportunity to sell your goods to a broader group of people, which then means that your personal economy, your personal wealth is going to go up. Well, if your personal wealth goes up, what's that going to do for your standard of living? It's going to go up too. So instead of living in a shack, you're going to live in a hut. And then when you get out of the hut, you're going to live in a house. Do you see what I mean? Your standard of living is going to go up. Now, we know, regardless of the time period, that if a person's standard of living goes up, there's a lot of other things that happens as well. When a person's standard of living goes up, it is a symbol also of stability in a society. And when there's stability in a society, you see the new advances and innovations in medicine and technology and literature and poetry. These are things that are part of who we are, the arts. These are all things that make us as human beings. They are a reflection of who we are. So if we're in a more stable environment economically, it gives us this feeling of safety and freedom to express ourselves in far more ways than we would if we felt as though we were unsafe. So I have here finally value. What is value? Well, how do you put value on something? Well, that's a really good question. And I think that's going to be part of one of your discussion board questions. Value. How do you put value on something? I would say, and there's an old saying, what you pay for something or what you would pay for it is how you put value on it. What somebody will pay for it is a way of putting value on it. But there's a lot more things to think about than that, just a transactional way of considering value. There's value received for what you do in some of your behaviors. Is it always smart to just make money? Or should you have put value in the in the environment and maybe not have a job that would hurt the environment? So value is a word that we use a lot. We throw around a lot, like love and forgiveness and friendship, but really has a far deeper meaning to it that I think is beyond what I really want to go in scope with in this short video. So if you have any questions, give me, I was going to say give me a call, but you don't have my number. Shoot me an email, and I'll be there for you. And I hope you enjoyed this little mini lecture. I'll see you on the other side. Bye.